here's a takeaway. I'm gluing up some stock, and first thing, and I want to make sure the stock is put together good. You've seen me just squirt glue down and then just stick the pieces together. But this is a particularly critical glue up. So what I've done, I spread my glue out over all my surfaces, and then I've allowed the glue to get tacky. Okay, then I can stick my stock together, the glued side together. Okay, now you run into a problem. Your stock wants to slide around and all that business. So what you can do is get your brad gun. This is my electric brad gun. I hardly ever use it except on off-site jobs. But right down towards the end, you're going to trim that off anyway. Now come down here, same deal. Well, welcome to another Memphis Monday 1:30. Today we're going to be rebuilding a junk wheelbarrow. I told a friend of mine I saw a pile of junk wheelbarrow behind his garage and asked him if I could fix it up because I know somebody else who needs a wheelbarrow. He didn't even want the thing. So he gave it to me, and I'm going to fix it up. You can see it just right underneath the chalkboard. We'll go look at it here in a second. But I think it's going to be a pretty fun project. And again, it's one of those projects I really like, where you take something that's really broke, but it's not real valuable, and you fix it up and make it useful again. But we're not going to make anything useful. We're not going to fix anything. We're not going to do anything, just sitting here gabbing. So let's knock off the chit-chat and get to work. Here's our basket case. Just about everything's broken. The main bucket is all rusty and needs to be refinished. The handles are both broken. The tires shot. The bolts are all rusty. But we'll take a piece at a time and fix it up. Here's the clamp setup for the stock we did in the intro. I'll take all those off, and that's the stock I'm going to use for the handles. I've used both Tide Bond 3 and also epoxy on handles before, and it doesn't seem to make much difference. They're both waterproof. They both have a real good bond. Well, it looks like just about everything is going to have to be fixed. But to keep from getting overwhelmed, I'm going to pick one part and fix it. And first part I want to fix is this, the bucket here, the big bucket. It's pretty pitted and rusty, but I think it can be sanded. I'm going to try 80 grit, and if that doesn't work, I'll go to 40 grit, and if that doesn't work, I'll bring out my high-speed drill sander. Well, sometimes you get lucky, guys. The rust is quite superficial. The metal is sound. This is going to be a piece of cake. As I've done in some other videos, I use these microfiber rags, as tack cloths. You can see how well they pick up rust or dust. They work just like tack cloths. I'm going to start off by priming it with something Rust-Oleum calls rust reformer. They claim it instantly converts rust into a black primer. How many out there believe that? I'm not priming it all over, just where I think it needs it. I'm going to prime over the logo. We got real lucky on that, on the bucket for this wheelbarrow. That wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. So I'm going to go ahead and take these other metal parts off, clean them up, and we'll just paint all the metal parts at one time. A little dirty, so I'm just going to sand them up, get the dirt off of them, and we'll paint them at the same time we do the tray. The business end of that wheelbarrow is called a tray, not a bucket. Remember in the old days we had to remember how things went back together? Now we just take out our phone and take a video of it. Instead of painting outside, I'm going to paint here in the doorway. This is our boat from last week. You want to see it? Of course, we finished up last week when we got the first coat of paint on. I put the second coat on. I did the forecastle. Added this bow line here. About 15 feet of bow line. I got this cool little seat here. I was going to make a seat, but I thought, heck, I could make a seat better than that. That's perfect. And I put these little cleats on the back. Now I'm setting up here in the doorway. I won't get very good video because of the sun, but what I'm using to paint this thing with is Rust-Oleum high performance enamel. I've used it before, and it's seems to work pretty good. I had to go get me a mask. The painting's done and everything came out quite acceptable. Let's work on the handles now. handle's 1 1/8 thick, 1 5/8 along this side of the rectangle, and then of course it's got the handle carved in the end here. Now I'm going to resist the temptation of trying to make, I was thinking about making them thicker and bigger, but I can't do that easily because it makes the hardware won't fit. And I'm not going to modify the hardware, so I need to stick with these dimensions. Now I want my handles only to be, this is 1 5/8, and you can see my stock here is much thicker than that. I'll be trimming it off on the table saw. This is oak, and it's real tough to cut, especially if you're cutting through 1 1/2 inches. So I'm going to be cutting it half at a time, and you flip it end for end. I'll show you that. I got the width done. The thickness is the same deal. My stock looks like about 1/2 inch thicker than what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to cut it on the table saw. Now I'll walk them into the exact measurements. If you want to see wood chips fly, get you one of these. Handles are coming out really nice. Here's our new handle. It's got this nice oval shape, very comfortable on your hand. It's thicker diameter, better shape, as opposed to this original handle, which is just about 1 inch tenon. Very uncomfortable to hold, weaker. So the question is, why didn't, on the original, why didn't they just put a nice oval hand grip on it instead of this small tenon? Let me go show you. This is what's known as a tenoning tool. It cuts tenons, and in the factory where they made that handle, they had a real big one. This is just for making chair tenons, but they had a real big one, and they could just basically run that handle right into that tenoning jig, and make those things real fast. Let's demonstrate this thing. These tenon cutters are one of those tools you don't use all the time, but when you need it, it sure is nice to have it. Here's how it works. There you can see, in just a matter of seconds, I cut this perfect 1 inch tenon. I cut this perfect 1-inch tenon. It's perfectly spaced all the way up. It has this nice shoulder on it. Well, that's how they made that that factory handle. They had a large one of these tenon cutters, and they just ran that handle in it. Rather than measure the position of these bolt holes, I'm going to transfer their position directly from our broken handle. Got our holes in. Everything looks copacetic. What we need to do now, the original broken handle has a very slightly rounded over edges. They're just eased. I'm going to ease them on the router. I'm going to stain our handles with a color called English Chestnut. It's a little dark, but I'm going to wipe it off before I'm not going to put it on too thick. Now I'm putting it together, reusing the axle. I'm replacing the tire with one of these flat-free jobs. Putting the last part on. This is actually the last bolt. This thing's going to be guaranteed for 1,000 years. And if it breaks before 1,000 years, just bring it back to my shop and I'll fix it again. What I'm going to do now is put that linseed oil on it. I think that's the correct finish. Well, one quick look at the bottom before we flip it over. Turned out real nice, I think. Let's turn it over and see if it operates. Well, it looks like a new one. Well, there we have it. Our fully functional wheelbarrow. We built up from a pile of junk I found in my friend's backyard. It's guaranteed for 1,000 years. It's got a flat, free tire on it. Oak handles. All the metal parts have been reconditioned, and it's ready to haul rock. Well, that does it for another Memphis Monday. Memphis Monday 130. Rebuilding a junk wheelbarrow. Turned out real nice. Got oak handles, reconditioned all the metal parts, put a flat free tire on it. Everything came out. I think that thing's good forever. All right. I think we had a lot of fun. I know I did, because this is my favorite kind of project, taking junk and reworking it. I don't know what kind of video it makes, but I sure do like it. So I can't think of anything else. Oh yeah, one more thing. Make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.